Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, the time has finally arrived for the review of the brand new ICM HP.52 Hampden B Mk.1. Rather late, I have to say. Nothing to do with ICM's fault. They posted it off at the usual sort of timescale, but for whatever reason it's been on a very strange, thanks to the courier, it's been on a strange magical mystery tour of the Baltic states, for what I can gather. It spent 3 days, may have gone through Estonia I think, but it certainly spent 3 days stuck in Latvia, Riga, the airport for some reason. And then when it got to the UK, it spent another 3 days stuck in Heathrow, from what I can tell, and not moving. And this is not normal. Okay, so it's just a Christmas volume or something, but maybe the size of it was in quite a big box. Got a couple of other items, perhaps a bit overpacked, didn't help it. But the box wasn't in great condition when it arrived. It looked like somebody literally played football with it. It had a completely punched right in at one corner. Looked like somebody kicked it actually. So it hasn't been well handled either. So I don't know what the condition of the contents is like. So we'll find out in due course. But very grateful to ICM for sending it. No charge to me, so who am I to complain? But I will complain if the kit's rubbish, yeah? So just be advised, I think people know that now. Everybody knows that. Anyway, before we get into that, as I've got this in my hand, just a couple of things to mention, several things actually. First, I've just been doing my annual dusting, which, you know, looks like I ham it up for the cameras. I don't ham it up, I hate it. I hate it. I mean, I won't do it every year on camera like that, but people specifically asked me if I'd show some of the techniques and how I go about it, etc. So I was using my little blower brush, which I've left somewhere else, which is fantastic because it doesn't do any damage. Well, I'll say that, it did do a tiny bit of damage to one item, but soon fixed. But my wife very kindly gave me this. It's a Christmas present that's come early. This is Chinese blower. Now, you won't have seen the grey bit. That's a nozzle that you screw in on the end. Sounds chalk on a blackboard, that sounds like. But it's very interesting. So let me zoom you in. And by the way, before I get into this, cameras. You'll have noticed some strange camera angles and some strange colours and lighting and all sorts of strange stuff going on. I want to apologise for the videos that I did about the cleaning and the dusting. Just about the photography, it was rubbish really, I thought, and it was nothing to do with me. This was using the new, I think I've discovered the limitations of the DJI Osmo, which is like a vlog camera. It's got tracking and all this, but it's got two big problems which it seems to suffer from. One is the colour balance is just beyond weird. I look at myself on these videos, as you're more used to, and I always look quite rosy cheeked, you know, very healthy little cherub, chubby cheeks, little red rosy cheeks. Well, that looked like I was dying. It looked like I was like the Grim Reaper was waiting in the corner. And it's so unflattering, very unflattering. Very accentuates overly expanding the sort of the detail. That makes you look really old, really craggy, and I don't think I look like that in person. And it's very extreme with the colours. It made me look like my skin was grey, like I was dying. Literally, I'm not joking. It didn't look good at all. I thought, God, it's horrible. And the biggest problem, I mean, that's bad enough, but the biggest problem is, we've talked about this camera in the past, it tends to exaggerate colour a bit. So, for example, the Kinetic Sea Harrier kind of compensates, and it looks lighter grey than it actually is. Well, that other camera does the exact opposite. It sort of makes everything look darker, but when it gets to skin tones, it makes you look grey and ashen. It's really weird. I mean, there may be something in the setup, I don't know, but the real killer thing that's against it for using it like that, and I probably won't again, in that scenario when I was looking at models, looking at me, looking at cabinet, zooming in, well, it couldn't handle it well. Did you see the way when it zooms in? And this is classic. Be very wary, people. You know, so many of us buy stuff that we don't really test, you know, online. And this is not a criticism of my wife bought this. I say, God, I could say the wrong thing again. Mr. Critical's at it again. I'll end up divorced at the end of this Christmas. But it's not that. It's more that you can't test them. You know, you've just got to take their word. So it's HD. It's 4K. But as soon as you zoom in, they've got the new update, has now got you zooming up to, instead of 2.4, it's gone up to 4 times magnification. It's rubbish. You see what he does? All he does is stretch the pixels. It's typical digital zoom. All he does is just stretch, engorge, increase the size of the pixels. That's not zoom. That's not zoom. Zoom is actually a powerful lens that effectively moves you closer. Not just stretches the picture like that, you know, like a piece of a rubber band or something. And that's all it's doing. You can see when there was that shot toward the end of the video where I showed the Spitfire Mark 1. And I zoomed in and it looked really nice. And as soon as I zoomed in, it looked terrible. Not the kit particularly, but just the image was just blurry and it lost its distinction, its definition was gone. Crap, you know. So it's not suited to that. And the zoom function, frankly, is as good as useless on that. When it's sat here on the desk and I'm doing like a vlog or something, it's very good then. It just makes me look so unwell and grey and things. And again with the models, it made them look a bit weird. It made the mirror eyes look grey, I thought, instead of silver. Very strange. Anyway, so I've learned my lesson there. So be wary, people, when you're asking for fancy cameras. Just be careful what you're buying. You should really check the reviews first, research it, because any company that makes cameras can say, oh, it's got 4K, 4 times zoom. You think, oh yeah, tick, tick, tick. No. All that matters with these cameras is the final images it delivers on a camera. That's all that matters. And I'm speaking as someone that diploma in photography. No. And this is why this camera that I'm filming on here has stood the test of time. I've had this for 10 years now. 11 years, I think. Is it longer? 12, I think. It's just, yeah, it's not the fastest zoom, and it has got a weakness with its focus. We know that. It's very slow to focus sometimes. But that one was the same. I got frustrated watching the video back. I was thinking people are going to be annoyed with me because it's taking so long to focus, you know. And it seems to be a weak point on a lot of these cameras. Anyway, there we go. So just be careful what you're buying camera-wise, because all that glitters is not gold. Anyway, going back to interesting products from the Far East. My Kika blower, my wife pointed out, making a bit of a fool of me. I think she was having a revenge what I did to her kitchen. She pointed out that this has got these nozzles, which I didn't mention. I completely didn't even know. I didn't spot them. And it's quite interesting because you put this on, and it probably doesn't do what you think. So this is obviously the business end, but this actually reduces the severity. This particular one. So this is obviously for getting in fine areas and not hurricaning the whole model. So actually with this, it suddenly becomes a bit more usable. And the fact it's got the sliding, like the throttle, if you like. And if you do this one, if anything, it becomes even more powerful with this more open one. So actually, maybe I was a bit harsh on it. I think that, again, I urge caution. I'm not recommending this particularly for model use. I've just used it here to get rid of the dust on my lamps and stuff, and it's brilliant. So it's a great bit of kit, but just be wary about, don't go sticking this up against your models and then put it on full blast. It'll just literally disassemble your kit, but be a kit again instead of a model. But, you know, so you've got this, whoa, zoom you in. And then you've got this slider at the front, where my thumb is, and you slide that. I'm going to put it away because I don't want to get it on camera. It really comes off with some wash. I'm not sure how many revs it's doing, but it's quite a lot. It's a handy little tool. Just use it wisely, is what I would say to you. Be very careful. Oh, way back this video. So anyway, I just want to get that out of the way and talk about that. The other thing is, go back to the Hampden and say it's been on this walkabout around Europe. I started to wonder if it was actually going to come at all, or if it had been lost, to be honest, but obviously not. That's good. However, other people have had it already. I haven't, genuinely, I can look you in the eye and say I haven't looked at a single one of those reviews, or even images. I didn't need to look at images because I'd already handled it at Telford briefly on the hobby company stand. But I don't, you know, I don't go looking at other reviews, especially if I know I'm going. Well, never. If I'm going to review something that's coming, I completely ignore them. And you'd be surprised actually. I don't actually watch that many other model kit channels. There's about 5 or 6 total that I watch. I mean, I have watched others once in a blue moon, you know, but I know some people that constantly comment on what I'm doing, which seem to have an obsession with me, which is quite flattering, actually. Maybe you know who I'm talking about, but I certainly don't watch their channel at all. I mean, last time I watched one or two of those channels is at least 18 months ago, probably. And that was probably only for a couple of minutes to look at something very specific. I certainly won't watch them through because I watch the channels I find entertaining. So they tend to be, I watch Phil Flory, not religiously because of just time, you know. But I watch some of his stuff because I'm one of his members anyway. I also watch Steve's Vintage Model Builds, my friend in Canada, Steve. He's got a very tiny channel, but you know, needs all the help he can get, and he supports me, so I support him. So watch that on a regular basis. Jason, Model Kit Stuff, of course, as you know, I'm pals with him. Who else have we got? The Interesting Modelling Company. A lot of you probably don't know about them. They're on a slightly different look at the way they do things. Modelling is sort of different slant on modelling, but they do a lot of stuff about cars with Ian Hartup. Jonathan Mock's the main man, and you get Spencer Pollard on there, Drew Manton. And Christopher Buchholz, and they get these regular guests that are pretty knowledgeable guys, you know, and especially in the case of someone like Drew or Spencer, really top modellers, you know. So I quite enjoy watching their stuff. It's a live show, and they tend to do sort of the news, which I don't do. You know, this week's latest models. It's not a format I particularly want to do myself, but it's interesting. The only thing on their show that I sometimes don't like, not a criticism, it's just more about method, really. And sometimes they have a talking heads, you know, this thing. I hate those channels that do that, actually, where there are 5 or 6 people. If it's 1 or 2 people, it's not so bad, but when there's 5 or 6 boxes like a Zoom call, no, I don't do that at all. I do not enjoy that. The quality of the image is usually absolutely appalling, and I think that you're just diluting the input of your guests, really. So 1 or 2 guests is fine. It doesn't matter who they are. It's not about individuals. It's about just overload. 3's a crowd, you know. 3's a crowd. So that's why, you know, I go on with Jason at Model Kit Stuff from time to time, 2 or 3 times a year maybe. We're due for one, aren't we, in Easter Saturday? And I'm hosting, by the way. Well, that's fine, you know, but I think when you're one of 6 or 8, it's just ridiculous, really. I just don't see the point of it. People start talking over each other, or everybody goes quiet. Doesn't work. Don't like it at all. And it doesn't matter whose channel it is I'm talking about. I just don't like that style of video. It's a rather lazy, perhaps that's a bit too strong, but it's not a very creative way of, you know, it's almost like let's bring loads of people and don't have to think about it too much and just hope that they interact and talk about the latest stuff without any preparation. It is a bit lazy too. But anyway, there we go. So who else do I watch? I also watch Scalaton. I quite like him. He's one that a lot of other people don't seem to watch, but he's the chap that's got the voice bit. I don't mean to insult anybody. He's got a voice a bit like a meerkat. He's the most brilliant modeller. Absolutely incredible. And Plasmo, kind of similar. He's another good one. And of course Night Shift. But I tend not to watch any of their output. These guys are master builders, and they tend to have quite a small output in terms of regularity. So I suppose you don't watch them often anyway, because they don't make that much. It takes time, you know. Their output will be limited. And that's kind of it, really. Is there anybody else I've missed? Oh, of course, sorry, Neil. I forgot Neil. Neil at Creative Time Waster, who does all the... He doesn't deserve to be watched, really. He builds Matchbox kits that are vintage boxes. God, I get cross with him. But when he's not building Matchbox vintage box kits, then I think he's fantastic. And he's got a small channel that's growing. And he's another master builder. Better than he thinks he is, I think. Some fantastic work there. And there's also, is it Mataline, the guy that does the What If? He does these artworks and these. It's like a channel. He doesn't so much build them as have What If artworks for things like Thunderbirds and, you know, what if Airfix had done this, and this, or what if Matchbox had done. And it's really interesting because those of us that love the artwork, which is most of us, I think, the box art, that's an interesting channel. And again, he doesn't produce a lot of videos, but when they come out, they're usually pretty good. So those are what I watch, really, and that's pretty much it on a regular basis, you know. I might watch an odd one that pops up, but those are the ones I find the most interesting. Enough of that. Just before we get into the real meat and potatoes of our review, I want to show you, never mind about those other channels, you're here for my channel today. Look what I've got. I've got you some t-shirts. We've already sold them. I think the extra large. This is extra large I've got in my hand. The extra large have all sold out, so if you want one of those, just drop me a line and I'll get some more on order for you. Won't be quick though. Probably looking at a 3 to 4 weeks delivery, but I'm thinking of doing several of these with different logos. Many suggestions. What was it suggested? If Carlsberg did rants, modelling rants. ... That's another one. Who else did? You are always most welcome. Matchbox is the greatest kits of all time. What was the other one that somebody suggested? What about the black gloves? I can't remember now. There's been a few funny suggestions, and my mind's just forgotten them. But I've written them down somewhere, so I'll have to dig them out. I came for the review, but I stayed for the rant. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen today. Anyway, drop me a line for one of these. $23.99 plus postage. Bear in mind if you're in America or Canada or Australia, it's going to be quite pricey. But maybe we can, I don't know, maybe we can find a way around that. It shouldn't be too much because it's only a little light item in a little bag, Probably bag it up for you, double bag it or something, just to protect it. But they're quite nice shirts, and I think they're quite amusing. So I think at Christmas, New Year, around then, I'll be putting mine on, and I'll definitely be wearing that, probably for Kits of the Year or something. Anyway, we hope to have no rants today. As I've said before, manufacturers know if they send me a bad kit. Now, I'm a bit worried about this one, only in the way that it's been handled by the courier, so we won't hold that against ICM, whatever happens. But at the end of the day, kits should be fit for purpose and of merchantable quality, and if kits arrive in very poor condition that have not been QC checked, we know the story. They're not going to get a good report, and I'm not going to cover it up for anybody, so whoever they may be. Even Tamiya. And by the way, we're waiting for the Tamiya Tomcat coming. Imminent, so we won't know if this is Kit of the Year at the end of this, good or bad. We've still got the Tomcat to come, we've still got the Armour Hurricane to come. Due very soon. Let's get into this. So, long awaited. It's the biggest release of the year from ICM, the Hampden. I think they announced it start last year. I think it was about 18 months ago plus before that we've known about it. Kit number 48352. As I say, I haven't seen any other reviews whatsoever. The only knowledge I've got of this is what I saw at Telford. So, let's have a read of what they say. Hats off to ICM. This is something long overdue in the modelling community. A new Hampden bomber, 48 scale. Fantastic. Right back to the start of World War II, isn't it? It says ICM's first model, in other words there's going to be others, of the HP.52 Hampden bomber. In detailed rivets on the fuselage, wings and tail, and what I saw of that at Telford blew my mind. It was amazing. Accurate geometry and proportions of the real aircraft with detailed cockpit equipment. Includes various bomb types for the bomb bay and underwing placement. Decals with markings for 4 airplanes, including the very first production example. And it's got 350 parts, got quite a lot of parts, and it's retailing at about the £65 mark, I think, thereabouts. Prices do vary. 2025. Now, this was going to be coming out in September, and we have this horrible situation at ICM's HQ where they were hit by a missile strike and it wiped out the front of the building. Thankfully at night, and nobody was seriously hurt or injured. A miracle, really. So the fact that they've been able to produce this, along with all those other kits that I've shown you this year, I think is a massive tribute to a company that's not alone. There's quite a few in Ukraine, really good companies, we've talked about them before, operated under the most difficult conditions, and I think they all deserve a big round of applause. And I can tell you now, even before opening this kit, spoiler alert, ICM are my manufacturer of the year by miles. Nobody, and I mean nobody, comes even remotely close this year. Their output and the consistency of the quality, their clear parts, and just their tenacious, dogmatic determination not to be deflected has been very, very admirable indeed. Quite humbling for us all Well done, ICM. You deserve all the credit for that. And then on the side, let's have a look at what we've got. The first production aircraft. Look at that. That's tempting, isn't it? The first ever production Hampden. Here it comes. Wow. Yeah, I like that. First production Hampden. Then we've got one in 50 Squadron, 1939. So the first one was 38. So it came out about the same time as the Spitfire, didn't it, basically? And then you got February 39, 44 Squadron. And then below we've got the tactical TDU. What's TDU? Tactical Development Unit. Is that TDU? I'm not quite sure. That's December 1939. So without further ado, big drum roll. We'll get the old knife out. I say old. It's got a nice new blade in it, so we shouldn't take us long to get into this. Here we go. Let's hope it's okay, because I say the outer box was in a terrible state. I had to sign for it damaged. Even the driver was embarrassed. He said, "Well, I didn't do that, mate." He said, "I didn't realise it was as bad." I think he saw it on the good side when it was loaded in the van. That's what they all say, isn't it? Yeah, I bet. Oh, sorry, was a bit cynical there about courier delivery people. They're just boxmen, aren't they? They just think everything's just a box. Actually, ICM don't say fragile on their boxes, but they have a tape. Their ICM tape looks like fragile tape, and I think that's what they rely on. And generally, it works. To be fair, I'm going to talk as well. We've got the paint set. We'll get into that in a second. Let's have a look at what we've got. The moment. Oh, just drink it in, you know. The moment we've all been waiting for. Let's have a quick slurp of tea, if you excuse me. Don't want to rush this. Waited long enough for it. I'm going to enjoy it. There's 3 bags of sprues. Yep. Let us see what they tell us in the box, which I'll move over there. So, wearing my nice blue shirt today. I didn't want to put the voodoo jinx of death on it. Poor old Epic's got the voodoo skulls, didn't it? It didn't go very well after that. I don't think it was my fault, to be honest. But anyway, right, let's have a look. Let's have a looky-see. Now then, this could be a very critical kit indeed. Beautiful artwork, nice little write-up for us. And it says... Tell you a story, Christmas story. It says, in October 1931. Wow, that's quite early, wasn't it? Really? Sure, my camera angle is slightly different than normal. At least I look rosy-cheeked. Shut up and get on with it. Right. In October 1931, the British Air Ministry began preparing specifications for a new bomber to replace their obsolete biplanes. Quite a big step from a biplane, I think, this, isn't it? Specification B9/32 was created in August 1932. With several manufacturers competing, Handley Page's HP.52 was selected, with its prototype completed in the spring of 1936. It took them 5 years. In October the 4th, 1937, the Air Ministry approved the HP.52 Hampden B Mk.1, named after the 17th century defender John Hampden. Okay. Is that from the Civil War? My memory's failing me there. Production began in spring of 1938, with aircraft entering service by the autumn of that year. By July 1940, Handley had already produced 500 units. English Electric joined production in February 1940, building another 770 by March of 1942. From the start of World War II, the Hampden was actively used against Germany, conducting ground attacks, bombing range, ship attacks and mine laying. It served with Bomber Command until the autumn of 1942, then transferred to Coastal Command from the spring of 42, where many of them became torpedo bombers because, of course, they were getting outclassed in terms of performance. The old story. You know, in a war of that nature, World War, things get obsolete really fast, you know. I mean, look at the Spitfire. How many marks did it have? 24? It tells you the story, doesn't it? fundamentally strong but needed constant development. I think with this, a little bit limited on its bomb load, etc. It says technical specs: length 16.3 metres, wingspan of 21 metres, 2 Bristol Pegasus engines, developing 1,000 horsepower each. So you can tell straight away it's not that much, is it? When a Spitfire ended up with 1,700 and 1,800 horsepower. I think more, didn't they? The later Griffin engine Spitfire was a lot more than that, 2,300 was it? Maximum speed 426 kilometres. That's just under 300 mile an hour, isn't it? Service ceiling maximum, it's not high level, as it's just under 7,000 metres. What's that? 21,000 feet, 20,000 feet. And max fair range 1,760. Good range. Good range. Doesn't say what the bomb load is actually. That's interesting. Missed that out. Armament. Oh, just say, beg your pardon, my mistake. It's put at the end under armament after the gun detail. 1,000, just under, basically 1,800 kilos of bombs, basically. Okay, right then, let's get into this. Let's just pop these aside for 1 second. They're a little bit in the way. And we'll have a little look-see. I've got a good feeling about this one. I always did have a good feeling about this one. Let's have a look. So, ICM's sort of traditional high quality decals, which seems to me to have better colours than some of the recent kits have had. I have grumbled a couple of times about some of their decals. Colours being a bit off. It's usually the blue I notice. I'm not 100% sure on this, but it's better than the last one I moaned about. I think it definitely is a better blue. A little bit more consistent. Nice and bright, aren't they? There is a little bit of, being super critical now, but there is a little bit of it around the D's and these numbers on the decals. There's a bit of a halo of carrier film, a little bit of excess around the outside, I'd say. Just a little. But other than that, they're very beautiful, very bright. You've got all your instruments up here. Yeah, very nice set of decals actually. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I mean, you know, me, especially on those the decals there that've got maybe a tiny bit of excess carrier film, it's a doddle to just trim that back. There is about 3mm though, about 3mm of excess, but very easy to take. It's not. I think the reason my eyes caught this, I'm not being picky, it's just that you don't really get that much excess on some of the others. Maybe just 1 or 2mm on some of the roundels, for example. But those letters seem to be a bit overdone. It's a bit weird, really. It just looks like the bottom row has been slightly excessive with its carrier film. Perhaps I'm just being picky. Who, me? Somebody said to me the other day, very rude, said, "You bitch about everything." And then this is when a few observations I found on the Meteor for Revell. And then the same guy, he got a bit ruder and ruder. I'm afraid I had to ban him in the end because he was just becoming abusive. He said, "You bitch about everything." And he said on the next, and then he put another comment on the same thing, just carrying on with the same trolling, really. "Stop bitching, for Christ's sake. It's only a plastic kit. Yeah, it's £100 though. So we paid £100 of your hard-earned cash. I don't think there's any reason not to say what you see." And several of you have written to me for weeks now, saying, "Please don't change." So I won't. Anyway, please don't be rude. You can disagree with me without being rude about it. There's no need for impoliteness in society, okay? Let's go then, let's go. Enough of that. Let's say what you see. Don't cover up. Yeah, how can you trust anybody who covers up stuff? Here we go. So, we've got our sprue map. Looks like we're going to use everything obviously in this version. Apart from some of the bombs, it would seem. Just got a few of the bombs there which we are going to exclude. Interesting looking clear parts. I'm really looking forward to those. That's going to be really cool. And we start off with our fuselage on the starboard side. Putting in some framework, a couple of windows got to go in there. Quite a few windows in fact, isn't there? How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 windows. And then you've got like a 5, well, you've got the nose side section window. Ooh, that's going to be interesting how that joins. I'm not sure about that. I actually thought the nose is all going to be one piece, like a one-piece glass house. So that's interesting. A few holes to drill here for the bomb racks. Then you've got your, so the bomb bay, bomb bay is quite small, isn't it? This is one of the issues with the aircraft, of course, and why they got obsoleted fairly quickly. Then we've got looks like a seat for the bomb aimer. There's like a toilet. I think is that a toilet? We've had this debate before. Is it here? Is that a toilet or is it a? Somebody said it was like a big kettle for brewing up tea. I think it's a loo myself. Position of it, you know. Anyway. But I would just say to ICM, and I've said this many times before, it would be helpful going forward in the future when they are under less duress, future projects, please can you consider labelling these things. I think that would make them absolutely perfect. Yeah, but it is just tricky because you've got these parts, again, with a complicated interior, lots of lovely detail, not as much, well, not any information, let's be honest, about what the parts are. Some are obviously self-explanatory, but some aren't. And it really is the one. It's the one and only thing that lacks in their kits, in my opinion. They would probably become, you know, getting up there with Tamiya if they could do that and add some details and just put more work into the instructions. It's probably a language issue, but you know, they've got a little bit of English and Ukrainian here. I'm sure they could just do that, especially on the items that are obviously not obvious, if you know what I mean, that strike you as being odd and you think, what's that then? Perhaps not so much obvious things like the control stick and the instruments. We don't need everything labelled, that would get too busy. Anyway, got bulkheads going in here for around the, this is further back where the gunner sits, just near the portaloo. And then you're on to repeated some of this work that you've done on the starboard side, now on the port side. You've got, this is the gunner's area, so you can tell it's got magazine drums for the guns. You've got oxygen bottles going in here, a couple of oxygen bottles on the side of the interior of the fuselage. Then you've got this clear piece, which I say doesn't make me nervous because I thought it was all going to be a one-piece front, but we shall see. Got to drill a hole for the nose machine gun, which is. Please tell me that's not a clear part, isn't it? No, it isn't. Thank goodness. So that's going to go in there. It's just very close to the clear parts. The hole looks like it's very critically close to the edge. Just be a bit careful when you're doing that. Then you're putting in your instrumentation for the pilot. Gunner's gun, which looks like a Vickers, I think. That's going in there into his position. Then you've got the nose gun, which you've just drilled that hole for. Oops, you've just drilled the hole for it. That's going to go in there. Then over here we have got. Oh, there's another gun. I didn't realise that there was a gun on top here. This is a gun, and it goes in this fairing, under this fairing where the muzzle just points out of a gun port on the nose. I didn't know that. Don't know much about the Hampden, I'm going to be honest with you. Not one of my areas of knowledge. Then we've got the tail wheel going in there. Does it just drag its tail wheel? I think it does. Yeah, it just does. It doesn't retract or anything. I think tail wheels retracting came sort of later in the war. And even things like the Lancaster didn't have that, did they? Then you're going to bring it all together. Bring your two sides of your fuselage in. Then you've got what looks like a seat for the bomb aimer. And you've got this top decking to go on here, covering here, a bit of a glasshouse covering for the top where the gunner's position is, the rearward gunner on the top. And you've got another, looks like another Vickers gun coming in here. And this is now where it gets a little bit tricky, where you've got these clear parts you've got to drop in to join the two halves, which are glasshouse on both sides already. Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a tricky one. Just be very careful. I think you'd be best using You know, they haven't gone the sort of Tamiya route where there's an additional part that morphs into the main fuselage. It is a separate piece of glass, so you've got to join 3 pieces of glass here. So I would use something like, it doesn't have to be this product, others are available, but something like that, a PVA based, or Microscale Industries do theirs as well. Clear, I can't remember what they call it, but it's the same sort of thing. But a white PVA glue that dries clear. You definitely want to be not using your. I wouldn't use super glue personally, and I certainly wouldn't use normal cement on this. Then we've got the rear gunner's position here, the underneath. So we've got a gunner on top, we've got a gunner underneath. I didn't realise that does it say the crew number? It doesn't say what the crew numbers are, does it? I think it's 4, isn't it? I think there's 3 gunners, and one of the gunners is the bomb aimer and the pilot. I think you've got a navigator stroke bomb aimer stroke gunner. I think he's multitasking. And then underneath you've got your bomb bay. Fairly limited. I don't think it carries any more than a Mosquito, in fact less I think. And then you've got your bomb bay doors coming in here. You've got your horizontal stabiliser for the rear. Because it's got this unusual sort of like an H tail, hasn't it, on the Hampden, a little bit like the Lancaster, a miniature really, where your vertical fins, vertical stabilisers, there's 2 of them on each end of the horizontal stabiliser, like so, which just makes it quite an attractive aircraft, I think. You've got obviously twin rudders, and pop it in the top of the cockpit. Glass house on top. There's a hatch with viewing ports. There's got viewing ports, hasn't it? Yeah, hatch with viewing ports here. Bringing in your tailplane, and then you're going to work on your lower wing, putting in your gear bay doors. You've got your landing gear here. All the gear and its actuation controls, and the main gear legs coming in here. Popping those in to, what's all this about? Does it have movable flaps on this? Movable ailerons perhaps? So I'm just looking at this part A13, so it might be movable ailerons. And it's got slats as well, that's interesting. Slats? Oh no, it's the radiator. No, forget that. It's the radiator intakes. A bit like the Mosquito, it has these inboard radiators on the inner wing. Then you bring your top and bottom wing together. Ailerons coming in here and the flaps going on. I don't think the flaps are movable as such. I think it's just like a rod that positions them. Then you've got your the back of the nacelle where the exhausts come out underneath, the little flaps that form the back of the cowling. And then you've got the engine itself, Pegasus engine coming in here with all the push rods, etc. And all your cylinders, that goes in then on the front, connected to the front cowl here. Bring that in onto the main nacelle. Then we've got the cowling covers going on. What's that? What is that? This is another one where we could really, I think it's an intake, isn't it? I think I'd just do an explanation of the description of what that is. Oh yeah, it's there. It's just, again, it's okay, it's there. It says 76. Just could be clearer. Could be clearer. If it just said intake, lower intake, engine, you know, cowl. That's all you need to say, and then it becomes clearer. But there we go. That goes in there on the cowls. All the cowls are brought in. Then you've got your wingtip lights. You've got your landing gear doors. Gear going in both sides. It comes in on almost like a spar to locate it. That's quite a clever idea. So you're building it onto this spar, and then that just slots in to locate it perfectly in the wing. Quite a cool idea, I like that. And then ultimately you're bringing your top and bottom wing together here, just like you did on the other side. Now we're on the port side, bringing it all in, repeating all that procedure with the lights, etc. And then finally, well, not quite finally, but putting in our main wings that are on these spars. So it should be a nice solid location. We've got our prop and spinner coming in here for both sides, and then we're onto the weapons. So we have got additional pylons for £250 or £500 bombs to go underneath the wings, which looks pretty cool. So I'm just getting a little bit more light. There we go. Got a bit dark there, I think. And then we've got our £250 bombs here, £500 bombs in the middle, and SAP, anti-personnel, I think that is. Oops. Anti-personnel fragmentation bombs, I think they are, for bombing German columns. And there you go, you finish your Hampden. Fantastic. So, that should just leave us with problem mask templates for all the masks. Oh, it's got a lot of windows. How many has it got? 50 windows it's got. Not quite as bad as a Sally bomber with 130, but it's a lot, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, you can use this as a template and make your own. Again, I would say maybe ICM, when they're out of danger, so to speak, in the future, maybe they can go the same route that Revell and Airfix have done and provide a mask set. I think they need to, really, especially with these type of aircraft. It's more critical, you know. You see that on the instructions. There's a lot of glass work, a lot of mask work to do. So, yes, I think maybe I'd probably just go for a mask set. And then we've got the paint call out. So we've got the original first production example, which must have been quite revolutionary in 1938. I bet they were pretty impressed with it, for sure. Quite an advanced looking machine for its time, you know, mid-late 30s. And then you've got the Rhodesia Squadron, Waddington. Rhodesia Squadron is just a title. And then we've got the number 50 Squadron, also at Waddington in Lincolnshire. And it's got the later, this is 1939, but it's got the later low-vis roundels. You see the difference? Got the roundels with the yellow round, and then we've moved to the sort of Battle of Britain style low-vis roundels. And then we've got the TDU, Torpedo Development Unit. That's what we didn't know. The torpedo unit. It's not got a torpedo on it, sadly. So I presume it actually dropped from the bay. Is there a torpedo included, he asks. Do you know, I think there is. I think there is indeed a torpedo. Let's go and have a look at the plastic. Let's bring you back. So apart from a few descriptions needed, it's the same thing I always say, really. Certain manufacturers, I always say the same thing. Very good instructions, nice clarity, good history, which we like. Others don't bother with that, some others. They seem to have done it pretty well, just could do with a bit more detail. Now then, this is the bit you've really been waiting for. I've got a new light here, by the way, slightly more diffused and brighter at the same time, so that should help us quite a lot. I think we'll do the weapons last, and I think we'll start over here. So, looking forward to this all year. Waited quite a while for this. Let's enjoy it. Okay, so we've got two sprues that are identical, in fact, so I'll put one of them back straight away just to save time and help me open the bag later. Save us time putting it back in the bag. So, they are... Oh, yeah. Very nice, very nice. Where's the control? Let's show you this. I'll try and... I know I have this thing with my camera focus, and I always feel that it's been on screen more than long enough, but it hasn't, because the camera takes a while to focus and it's really hard to judge. And I can't see with accuracy from the distance between me and the camera whether it's got the proper sharp focus. So I'm just going to dwell with this important kit. I'm going to dwell a bit longer on screen than I normally do. So enjoy. And I'm also going to pull back from the ultimate maximum zoom, because that seems to help with the focus. So you've got all your engine bells here and your cowlings, which do look really nice, don't they? You've got the actual landing gear legs themselves. Then we've got our engine complete with I don't know, is that the think that's actually the formers that go in front to hold, to strengthen. They're not functional, are they? I don't think they are. I think these are just. It's interesting. I don't know for sure. I think these are actually just like rods that just add strength to the cowling. Really, it's just part of the design. Then you've got your exhaust, and you've got your pull rods. You've got all your cylinders, and over here we've got the bits of the tailplane, vertical tails, and you've got your spinner. That's where my finger is. And then the propeller. Doesn't seem to have weight on wheels, which is a bit of a shame, but apart from that they look very nice. Quite a simple looking design, aren't they, on the Hampden. Lots of lovely small parts with no flash. No warpage. Look at this, there's no warping here. Just put my hand flat, you see what I mean. Just for the record. For those that seem to think that warp is somehow normal, I don't know why. No, there's no warp there. So that's a beautiful sprue. Put that one away and we've got a duplicate, as I say. Then, this is a nice one. Now we're getting into what really makes this kit a bit special, I think. The riveting. Look at this. Look at the rivets here. It's so smooth. You can't feel them. They're really subtly done. Very in scale looking. Not too much. Do you know what I mean? But they're there. So they've got the subtlety and the scale effect without them being overdone, overblown. Over here we've got our oxygen bottles. And now here we've got the Vickers guns I was talking about. Is that the Vickers as well? Yeah, that's another Vickers over here. These have actually got the drum ammunition on it already. Ammo drum. Ooh, that was bent a little bit in transit, I think. Part of the seat there. You've got that top hatch where you've got an observation windows. I think is that the bottom hatch? I might be wrong. No, it is the top, I think. I think it is. Yeah, it is. It's actually facing forward on the left and rear on the right. And then over on the other side you've got the underside, again with this beautiful of the tailplane with the horizontal stabiliser. Beautiful riveting, absolutely. It feels smooth. Your fingers can't. I know I've got the gloves on, but even so, it's so subtle, so nicely done, clear to the eye without being great big trench holes. You know what I mean? Absolutely fantastic. And again, some sections of the upper bodywork here on the fuselage with this fantastic riveting once more. And you've got tail wheel, you've got the bulkhead, internal bulkhead here, again with some really nice detail on it. These are these formers I was talking about that help you locate the engine, like a spar. The engine nacelle locates via this spar, so it puts the engine in just the right position. You know, they protrude into the outside the wing, and then this locates the wing into the fuselage as well. Very clever, very clever. Got some. You can see here that they're trying to avoid ejector pins, so they've gone the route of the Zukimura route again, which I prefer, which is having lugs on it. You do have to cut them all off, but you don't end up with a great big ejector pin mark. We did see some ejector pins on that Airfix 109, which I thought, I know in most respects the 109 molding was pretty good. I thought it was really nice, but those ejector pins on the flaps and inside the open engine cowl, that really didn't do it any favours. I think that was really something to be avoided, especially at that scale. You can't really get away with it. You know, it means people have got to do work to take care of it. So that was, yeah, very few people picked up on it. Well, I didn't say I only watched, I think, 1.5 of the reviews on that. And that was only because, said I don't watch the reviews, that was because I wanted to see if other people got the problem, because Phil Flory, most of the people did have it. I don't think he picked up on the ejector pin marks. And I know he complained about ejector pin marks on the Mozzie many years ago, 2014. And yet here we are, 11 years later, and Airfix did the same thing, only bigger. enough said about that kit, I think. Most of the plastic was lovely, to be fair, especially the clear parts. Speaking of which, let's see. Now here's the gold. They've become the gold standard, pretty much. ICM, I think. They've become like Tamiya on clear parts, but without the seam lines. So they are the gold standard, aren't they? Because Tamiya still do have a lot of seam lines, even on the Tomcat. I think it has a seam line on down the canopy. No, I don't mean the intentional one. I mean the non-intentional one. But these guys have been doing this so well. Look at the way they pack it. Yeah. Sounded like I was on a little crumble against Airfix. Let's change the record and talk about Revell. So the Revell Meteor, which again, a beautiful plastic, really nice kit, but was just a little bit let down by its clear parts. Now it's interesting because, just to quote Phil Flory again, he did a review and he didn't seem to notice the distortion, but he didn't have the scuffing. You can see that. But others have done, same as me. So I've had several of you may have seen the comments. Several have said, yeah, mine's got that scuffing as well. It's quite. One guy said he thought it was worse than mine. Not good, but this is how you avoid it. This is the whole point of the story, really. ICM are really thinking about it. They've got somebody doing it really well for them. He says, "Oh, yes, somebody's doing it really well for them. Have a look at this." I shouldn't say that before I open it, though. That's what I wasn't suggesting. It wasn't good. It was just hold your horses, you know. And here, this suffers none of that curvature, distortion that the Meteor had from Revell, which is what I grumbled about. Because the grey plastic was perfection on that kit. It was 10 out of 10 plastic, but the clear parts were not, I'm afraid. It was very distorted, I thought, for a 2025 kit. And ICM show repeatedly that you can do very complex shapes and not have distortion. Now they would say it's our young man with the bamboo stick polishing away at his tool to make sure it's super smooth before the moulding is done. But isn't that beautiful? I mean, that's a toughie, that one. I think that's gorgeous. Yeah, pretty much flawless. There's a tiny bit of distortion. I'm going to be really critical because I have to be. There is a tiny bit of distortion down the centre of this, but it's nothing like we saw on that Meteor. I'm being super critical. I think that they have triumphed again with these clear parts. Those are pretty much flawless, to be honest. The distortion I'm talking about is there, but it's not on the other parts, and it's certainly not something you'd notice. Whereas, again, 32nd scale on that Meteor, because it's quite big, you do tend to pick up on it with your eye. I think you'd spot that when it's on the kit. I doubt that's something, I should have said this, I doubt that that's something that will vary from kit to kit either. I suspect that's in the actual tool, basically. So I really do think that issue, not the scuffing, but the issue with the distortion, I think, would probably be actually in the tools. I think it'd be on every kit. But we're not here to knock other people's kits, or any kits really, but I'm going to tell it like we see it. ICM seem to have found a way to... Oh, there's no distortion here. Oh my god, that's perfect. You see what I mean? Just tell it like it is. Look at this. They are the kings, I think, now of clear parts. There's no distortion on this. We've got another tricky shape here. That bubble effect at the front. And you've got the gunner's position with the sort of the oval eye. The bomb aimer, I mean. Bomb aimer's position. Beautifully done. Flawless, he says. There's a bit of dust on it, I think. Oh no, that's part of the mold. Sorry, it's not dust, it's actually part of the shaping of the framework. Sorry, it's intentional. It's not dust, it's not a flaw. Just over here. It's part of the frame design. That is flawless. That's like the Airfix 109 clear parts again, but this is more complicated to do because of the shaping. Gorgeous. So I'm going to give them 10 out of 10 for their clear parts, certainly. I think that is very impressive. I expected no less from them, to be honest. So far so good. So we're about halfway through the kit now. Almost. That was good. Now, the wings. The business end of the aeroplane. And I think this is where... Oh, they've done it beautifully with this riveting. Again, this subtle... It's clear and it's sharp, but it's not... Sometimes when you get very sharp riveting, it's kind of exaggerated. This, again, it feels smooth. You can't feel them. But as you can see, your eyes tell you that they are there. Look at that. They've got the balance right. Now, I just want to make this comment, and I don't want to be unfair on anybody else. We've talked about Airfix, we've talked about Revell. The other one that I'm very interested to see is this Armour Hurricane, because I did feel with the earlier versions of their kit, the 48 scale Hurricane, on that kit, and it's very relevant to what we're looking at here, they'd gone a bit over the top with it. Do you know what I mean? And it was grossly exaggerated for its scale. But we will see. I don't want to prejudge it. We will see what happens when the new Battle of Britain version comes out. And we should be reviewing that in a few days, in fact. Within a week, we should have it before Christmas, if all is well. Here you've got the most beautiful detailing. Panel lining, rivets. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really nice. Got the flaps there, big flaps. Others on the side of the wing here. And then over here we've got the top of the flaps. And that's the actual elevator at the back, which is a great big one, of course, because it's this boom tail. That is fantastic, frankly. Beautiful moulding, state of the art. I mean, what is there not to like here? There's no flash, there's no distortion, there's no warping, Beautiful. That's that one. Then we've got the top wing. I'll do that next. Just more of the same. It's stunning, really, isn't it? Absolutely stunning. Look at the detail here. You know, to get it accurate the way that they've done. And as I say, I'm not the biggest Hampden expert, but others tell me it's spot on pretty much. The rivet counters, I think, will be very busy here. Very, very busy indeed. Yeah. Got your rudders there. Both sides, the rudder. And then you've got the top of the flaps and the ailerons. Again, you can't feel them. The rivets are all very clearly and sharply defined, but without having any ridges, or there's no feelable physical presence to them. But of course, when you put your paint on it, it will probably pop really beautifully, I think. I would just be a bit careful, because it is quite subtle, just say this. Because it is quite subtle, be a bit careful with you, don't go over primering this. Some light, thin primer, a fine primer might be best, I think. And don't go heavy with your paint coats either, or your clear coats. I think you want as little paint on it, so I'm not suggesting you don't paint it, but try and keep the volume down. Well thinned paint, light coats are going to be best, I think. Here's the fuselage, which again, it's just, yeah, this is like I saw it at Telford. Beautiful. Look at that. It's such an interesting looking aircraft as well, isn't it? It's different, you know. I'm tempted to build this one, you know. No, it won't be tomorrow. It won't be next year even, but I might well build this kit. It's something, it's kind of interesting on the eye. Almost easy on the eye, you could say. The radio set here. That's nicely done, isn't it, for the scale? Then you've got your Bombay doors. And then over on this side we have got... These are these sort of locators I talked about for the... they go in the wing for the ailerons. Then you've got your... What have we got here? So you've got option of the where my thumbs are. The open Bombay doors, or here we've got the closed Bombay doors. Again, beautiful fine riveting on them. Absolutely ace. You've got all that. Come on camera, today, thank you. All that fantastic riveting detail all the way along. The panel lines are just exquisitely done, aren't they? It's a beauty. It's a real beauty. Is it all we'd hoped for? Looks like it to me. Looks like it to me. Is it kit of the year? It's going to be up there, isn't it? It's going to be there or thereabouts. We will see. Can't say, because until the others arrive, you can't prejudge anything. You can say, oh, it's kit of the year, and then the next kit you say, oh, this is kit of the year, and so it goes on. There can only be one winner, and you have to see them all before you judge. Keep an open mind, but it's beautiful. It's kind of like the Marauder, but arguably with an even more interesting, slightly more eclectic subject matter, perhaps. And finally, on the weapons, including a torpedo. Now I'm a bit confused about this torpedo because I don't remember them showing it. I'm just going to go back for a second. I think I may have skipped over this and not been paying attention somehow. I just don't recall the torpedo in the instructions. So bear with me a second. Let's go back. Where's the torp? Come on. Well, clearly, no, it's not mentioned. It's not mentioned. It shows the bombs. It's not even mentioned in the instruction where the bombs are. There's no mention of it in those instructions there. Does it mention it earlier? No. Not really, no. No, it just shows the bomb racks. No mention of torpedoes. So, I suspect there's going to be a Coastal Command version. I mean, the parts are there. It does mention the training unit, doesn't it? And obviously the fact that these Hampdens, as it clearly states, they went on to be torpedo bombers for Coastal Command. I think they had some of them based at Banff, where they had the Mosquito Banff Strike Wing, along with the bow fighters as well. I think I'm right in saying that. And then we've got two that are the same, oh, three, beg your pardon. Yeah, and one of them is definitely a torpedo. Of that there is no doubt. Interesting. Yeah, let me show you this. Am I missing something here? I'm sure that's a torpedo. It is. So you've got your bombs, you've got 250, 500 kilo bombs, and including the fragmentation anti-personnel version, which I think is the very small one, isn't it? The small one here. Well, this is the torpedo that I was talking about. And this is the front of it, I think. Pretty sure. And it's got like a built-in tail, hasn't it, in fact? Or has it? Not entirely clear. But I think that that's a torp. And I think that'll be another version of this coming out, which will use that. If you remember, it showed several items right at the beginning when I showed the instructions. It showed several items that were blanked out, didn't it, on this frame only. So that's why there's going to be a torpedo bomber from Coastal Command coming later on, which will employ it. Whether you can actually build it up from this, maybe a little bit of scratch building around the mounting of it might be needed, I'm not sure. But you've got all your sway braces here, and they're nicely detailed. You can see the little fuse propellers at the back on the bombs. They're all detailed and moulded in as one. That's pretty impressive, isn't it? Look at that. Amazing, amazing. Yeah. Wow. It's beautiful, beautiful moulding. Look at the sharpness of these moulds and the lack of flash. Very, very fine, small parts. Be a bit careful though, because it's starting to remind me of Ryefield in some respects. The carpet monster is waiting for you, and I've already been victim to the carpet monster this week when I was doing my dusting using this darn thing. I hadn't actually used it on the models, I just used it on the cars, and I switched it off and it sort of spools down slowly. It doesn't just cut off dead, it does spill down very gently, and it was still blowing, and as I put it down it wafted to where those figures were, the Luftwaffe pilot and the officer looking at his map, and it just went and it was just literally gone, and I hunted for it, can't find it, so I made a new map. Not a problem. Anyway, I'm digressing. What a beautiful kit. Again, they've triumphed again, haven't they? Triumphed again. And they've triumphed in the face of the most difficult possible circumstances. This was being finalised and finished off for production right when they were hit by this awful missile strike back in August. Sort of couldn't come on a worse time, really. I mean, never a good time, but like this, the least said about it, the better, really. But here's the lovely paint set. Let's have a look at this now. So this is paint set number 3090. For the Hampden specifically. And what have we got? Leather brown, extra dark green, dark grey, black and gunmetal. All the colours you're going to need, and it has a satin varnish as well as a bonus. That's cool. That's cool. And on the back, very helpfully, it's got all the colours and where you'll use them. That's a really nice set to use, and goes beautifully. And if you're thinking of buying this for anybody as a gift, any model as you know, perfect combo. What a nice set. So where am I at verdict wise? Well, there are no surprises really in the box at all, given that I've seen that amazing riveting, but the subtlety and the nuance and the detail of it, and the finesse of it, the fact that it's got no ridges, you don't feel them but you definitely see them, that's what gives it the scale-like appearance. The only things I didn't like in there was just my usual grumble about I'd like a bit more detail on the instructions, and I don't think that is the way they do it, so I don't think I can hold that against them, so I'm going to give it 10 out of 10, and probably a bit of a predictable one really, but there was no flaws, and despite being looking like it had been treated like a World Cup soccer ball, the box, the outer box, that's whether that occurred over in Latvia or whether it occurred here. I suspect it was probably here, based on previous incidents. I think Parcel Force are not the best service, to be honest, in my experience. Things often arrive bashed. But it wasn't damaged inside. Now that's a tribute to good packaging. I know when I complained about Neil from Creative Time Wasting had sent me his Tornado, and we had a big moan about packaging, didn't we? And several people said, which I didn't really understand, I don't know whether they work for the companies that I moaned about, but several people chimed up to defend them and said, well, there should be the courier should behave better. Well, yes, that's absolutely true, and I agree with you. But this courier did not perform well. But look at that, there's no damaged parts, there wasn't one off the sprue. There's no warped parts, yeah. There's no sink marks, not that I spotted. Flawless, flawless. And that's because the packaging was good fundamentally to start with. Within the strong box, and this is something just to finally mention in relation to the Revell, I think everybody agrees pretty much that the new Revell box design, which we saw on the Meteor, is a big improvement, but it was just too flimsy though. It's still a bit weak, especially on a bigger kit like that. So this double boxing isn't strictly necessary if you have a nice beefy box, but ICM system works so well, and there's the proof. You know, we've got an outer box that had a complete breach in it, looked like somebody's foot had been through it, and yet no damage. Wonderful kit, a wonderful kit. No warpage, none of the faults that we've seen from other manufacturers this year. No cloudy or scuffed, clear parts, you know. There was no sink, as I say, it's all there. It's perfection really, isn't it? It's like Tamiya, maybe not quite as much detail in the instructions, but apart from that, you know, it balances out, because as I say, Tamiya have these seam lines down the canopies, which I'm not that happy about. I always have to be tackled. And that doesn't have any of those issues. Perfect clear parts. Just be careful when you're putting those clear parts together. Make sure you use the right glue, PVA based. And that's it. I think it's an absolute winner. Another beautiful world-class model at a sensible price and of a very interesting subject, long overdue in the industry. So I congratulate ICM, Alina, and of course Valeria, Managing Director. I congratulate all of you. Well done, and designers, and the adversity that you've overcome this year. I think that's just the icing on the cake. And in a way, although it's come through a bit nail-bitingly late for me, because mine got lost, it's the perfect thing to have for Christmas. It's the greatest example of of how they have become one of the top world-class manufacturers in scale model kits, and that's all I have to say. So it's 10 out of 10 from them. For them, give me a 10 out of 10 with a thumbs up. Give us a like, please. We need the likes. And we are rapidly approaching Christmas now. I would have put my Christmas lights on, but they tend to distract when I'm with the focus. There we go, put them on. Flashy Christmas lights. I didn't want them to cause any focus issues, but we are just a week away from Christmas now, and we have still got 2 more to come. So, as I say, kits of the year gives me a bit more of a feel for it, but still not there yet, because I don't know what the other 2 are going to be like. So the Armour Hurricane is going to be very interesting, and the new Tomcat in 72nd scale, the D, that's going to be from Tamiya. That's going to be very interesting as well. So who knows? Who knows? Everything could change at my order. I'll just add this to the list now. But it hasn't shocked me. It hasn't disappointed me. It's delivered on the promise that they made and showed at Telford. So I'm very, very delighted for them. So go buy it. I say, you know, you won't find a nicer scale model than that. It's got lots of interior, lovely detail. The only thing that they might consider doing in the future, maybe they could bring out some pilots for it, maybe as an aftermarket set, like they did with the Black Hawk. I would like to see some figures. I think we've all talked about this. People talked about it with the Airfix 24 scale kit. Revell did give us a figure, of course, on their 32nd scale Meteor. So that was great. Something that was a feather in their cap, actually, to their credit there. So yeah, figures would be nice, but yeah, it's a brilliant kit. Go out and buy it. There you go. Anyway, I'll be back very shortly. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything's crossed. So I should have 2 more reviews before kits of the year, at least 2. I have actually got another ICM to do, a small one. Maybe do that between Christmas and New Year or something, but there is a couple more to come. Not such, you know, groundbreaking, epoch-making kits as this, though. So, hope you enjoyed the show. Thought it was interesting. As I say, I have not seen any other reviews at all from anybody before opening that box. All I had seen was what I saw at Telford, and it's delivered 100% on that. No deviations whatsoever. Absolutely perfect. So, well done to ICM, and thank you for all your efforts. And stay safe. I'm sure that we all wish them well. Please, you know, keep using the shelters. Please be cautious. You know, if in doubt, you know, take the cautious route and don't take any risks just to make us another wonderful model. Great though it is, your safety is more important than that. Thank you to all the viewers for watching, and I hope to catch up with you in just a few days with these last kits of the year and see how we get on with those. Until then, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourselves. Stay well, stay safe. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.